Get yourself a pistol, get yourself a rifle, and
Mhm.
then you're good. If you want to add a shotgun, that's cool too. So now you have 3 guns. You have a pistol, a rifle, shotgun. And then get some training. I would recommend getting a pistol and then getting training before buying anything else. But if you want to buy a number of guns, then cool. Pistol rifle or pistol rifle shotgun. After that, man, get trained up.
Yeah, definitely. I know some of the craziest things I've heard as far as just in general, like when I think this was when all the COVID stuff was at the height. It was easily after March. I'd probably say it was maybe April, maybe around September, when ammo prices were super ridiculous and firearm prices were super ridiculous. The main thing I remember was on the BGOE group, somebody jumped in and they were saying some of the weirdest stuff. They're like, we don't need to use the weapons of the colonizers. We need to use French tactics in order to overcome what's going
What?
on. I'm like, what the heck?
What?
I don't know
Okay.
if you saw that one, but
Uh, oh man.
dude had a whole tinfoil suit. It was too late for the hat. It just,
Yeah, the suit
he had the suit and
was a three piece.
it was a 3 piece. Had the vest and everything. Man, had some tinfoil wingtips too. I'm telling you, he was dude was gone. But it was
Yeah, man.
it was
Unfortunately, there's some people that are, like, all right, brother, where are you getting this information, man?
right. I definitely agree with that. And like the tactics he was talking about, he wasn't talking about anything modern or anything recent. He was talking about like from the French, was it the French Revolution or something? Back when they had black powder firearms and you had to jam the rod down in there and
Sharpen
bite
up the
off the
bayonet.
paper. Yeah,
Yeah. Get
and
your
it.
musket.
Yeah, the musket. You had to actually. It might have been a blunderbuss from I don't know, man. He was the musket that had the horn, the little horn on the
Yeah.
end. That's what it looked like.
Straight up pirate gun.
I was like, bro, I don't know what you fighting, but
Yeah.
that ain't gonna do it. Talking about, I don't want to use the weapons of the colonizers. Yeah, you over there looking like Blackbeard. Okay, go right ahead.
Right. Yeah. That makes absolutely no sense. You use whatever weapon is the most effective.
And that's the internet for you.
Gotta
So
love it.
that was all feelings, I guarantee you.
Oh yeah. No facts, just
Yeah, yeah.
pure feelings.
So, in your opinion, what's the most overrated brand of firearm?
Taurus. Without question, there'll be somebody like, yeah, my Taurus never failed me. My Taurus is great. Please keep in mind that people that normally say that, most of them don't really shoot. So they might shoot 50 rounds when they go to the range out of this particular gun because they don't shoot a lot, or because they go to the range with multiple guns, which is another thing that you probably shouldn't do. So they're not really testing these guns. These guns aren't being used outside in the heat, outside in the cold, in the rain. They're not getting dropped on the ground. They're not being run hard. They're not getting run to the point where they're starting to heat up. No, most guns are going to work in the range environment where it's air conditioned. There's not even wind. You know what I mean?
Right.
So basing its reliability on that just isn't logical. But that's what people will base their reliability on. They'll say, "Yeah, I've run 200 rounds through mine." 200 rounds. That's not even a lot. That's not even really a range day. That's nothing to say. Now you say it's reliable based on that? No. So I think it's Taurus. So I think they could be better. It's possible, but they have yet to be proven. And I think people are putting them, because you hear it's just as good as, and then insert Glock, HK, Sig, M&P, Walther, Canik, CZ, FN. So it's just as good as those brands. And no, those brands have proven track records. Those brands are being used by military personnel and not in some off-brand country. But, so I don't, no.
Not all their firearms.
Right. Yeah.
I see
Yep.
guns as equals. Like, okay.
Right. I don't see manufacturers.
This is the truth,
Yeah,
though, guy.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I say Taurus.
and speaking of, go back to the training topic. I've number one, I've done that before. I've taken pretty much a good majority of my guns to the range, um, which I am probably going to change up how I actually carry to the range now because you do have people that uh, will follow you from the range, wait on you to stop somewhere, and actually try and steal your firearms from you. Like if you go into a gas station or something. So especially in
There's
Atlanta
a
right
word
now.
for that. I always forget the term, but there's actually a term for that when people do that. I always warn my clients, like, hey, be careful because this is what's going on. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because I know at least in Atlanta, it all started out with they called them sliders. They would actually slide into a person's car as they were pumping gas, and try and steal the pocketbooks or the wallet or whatever is on the seat. But now they've
Yep.
gotten a little bit more bold. So as you're pumping the gas in the car, they may try and start the car up and drive off, or they might just
Wow.
slide in if you're, for some odd reason, I don't know why, because it's not exactly intelligent. But if you are going into the store and you leave the keys in the car running, it's a responsibility thing, and it boils down to you watching out for your property. So realizing that, yeah, I'm definitely I'm not gonna bring my whole arsenal. Matter of fact, the last time I even brought my whole arsenal was when I was trying to let my mentor get a feel for what the rifles felt like, what firearms felt like, because he and his wife were trying to find a something to carry because this was again height of COVID. People were making firearm purchases. They wanted to make sure they could make theirs too, and
Right.
it helped them out. But I do know now. I don't think I never really liked mag dump, to be honest with you, because if you're having fun, okay, that's one thing. But my intent every single time I go to a range is to try and um, tune my firearms up to where they need to be at so I can utilize them more properly. And it's to try and learn the tool that I'm utilizing so I can get better at it. I actually took my red dot off of my SFX because I got to the point where I'm like, what's the point of having a red dot on a firearm if you don't know the basics of the firearm? It's just extra money you could have put into training. So my whole mindset's changed now.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tease you for a second. If you can bring all your weapons to the range, you don't have an arsenal.
I ain't say I ain't say I had an arsenal. Hold on.
You said arsenal, but it's cool.
And well, for the record, it wasn't easy either. I'm sitting here. I had to put all my rifles in one bag, and because I've got like I got a bag for my. I know,
Right.
but I got a bag for my ARs. I got a bag for my Ruger charger, my carbine. Then I put the handguns in there, and then I don't even know how I got the shotgun in the bag, but I got the shotgun in the bag, and yeah, it was a lot of weight. It kind of felt I felt like Arnold off of Commando, when he's rolling up on that beach.
Did you have the rocket launcher?
I ain't had the rocket launcher yet. But they felt as heavy as that rocket launcher, I can tell you that much.
I'm sure, man.
My mentor's like, I'll get the door for you.
Yeah, that's the least you could do.
Yeah. But man, but yeah. I'm sorry, that's crazy. So I know you said multiple times if you really needed a firearm right then and right there, but do you feel like there's any key factor that should keep you from making a firearm purchase or deter you from making a firearm purchase?
You mean like for your first firearm or just?
I guess for your first firearm, something that goes beyond people's feelings.
Something that would deter? The only thing I can think of as far as deter would be like, and I have friends that are, and they're honest, like, look, Will, I don't own a gun because my temper, and I know because of who I am, I'm going to use it when probably they shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you kind of be honest with yourself and you know you don't have good control over your emotions, then maybe, and you know, it sounds weird for somebody that loves, you know, firearms to say maybe it's not for you, but if you can't be responsible and you know that ahead of time, then maybe that isn't the best thing. You know, maybe we gotta get you some pepper spray or a whistle or something. I don't know.
I mean,
But
that's a good answer. That's a really good answer.
I mean, outside of that, or unless you know you have mental health or something, you know, something where you're not going to be able to use that gun the way it should be used, um, then yeah. Other than that, man, as you know, guns can be used for sport and for just for fun. And, you know, it's not always someone's life is on the line. So there's a number of reasons why you might want to get into firearms and shoot. You know, you already know there's people that just basically collect them because they hardly ever shoot what they have. Some of their guns never get shot; they just go in the safe. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot that Taurus eventually. I just hadn't shot it yet because I've got it's defense rounds. Which, don't get me wrong, you could shoot defense rounds, but with the way these prices are right now, yeah, I might try and see if I can find some brass or something.
Now with the revolver, it's a little different, I guess. But with the if you have a semi-auto, it's always a good idea to run one box through your gun just to make sure they're going to cycle properly. Because sometimes the geometry of the round just might not like your gun, and it's not that the gun is bad or the ammo's bad; they just don't work well together. And you don't want to find out that your self-defense ammo won't cycle in your shiny new, I don't know, HK SIG or whatever, in a gunfight. So you want to make sure you know it cycles, and then after that, you don't have to do it again. But it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, that's very true because, you know, there's people out there that still think that I just take my range ammo and use it as defense ammo. Like, I don't know about that because,
Yeah.
you know, you might stop the bad guy.
Yeah. And you might hit somebody else, or you might not stop them in time because those, although you're still shot and nobody wants to be shot, those rounds are going to be less effective at stopping the threat faster because a pistol round is really not a great fight stopper anyway. You can get shot a few times and still live, right? Versus if you get shot a few times in the chest with a rifle, it's pretty much good night, let alone like a shotgun, right?
Yeah.
And we've all seen situations where, and these are justified shootings here, where a person is literally running at a cop with a knife, and the cop is shooting them, but they're also running away because even though they've been hit a few times, they're not immediately going down. It takes a little bit of time, depending on, of course, if they're on drugs, and then two, how determined that attacker is to do whatever they're doing. So it's not like the movies where you just shoot somebody once or twice and they just fall down and die. If that person is determined, it might take a few more rounds. It might take a few more seconds, which, you know, that Full Metal Jacket round is going to be less likely to stop them faster. So you want to make sure you're using all the energy in that projectile to stop the threat, and not some of the energy, and then the rest of the energy goes down the street, hits a little girl or whatever else it is.
Exactly.
Again, those are people that don't take training.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, you know, just because you are a police officer and you're utilizing your firearm doesn't mean that you're always going to have the best shot. Because I think I kind of remember the video you might be referring to where the lady, the female police officer, was being stalked down by a dude that had a knife, and she was trying to tell him to stop. She was trying to tell him to basically get him to calm down, and she had to open fire on him. And I think she actually had a malfunction that she had to clear as well. So she had to tap and racket, then continue to fire on him after fixing the problem. And this all happened within a span of like maybe a minute, 2 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, there's a lot more to it than just I'm gonna take my range ammo and stop any bad guy that shows up, and then you shoot the bad guy. But especially in today's society, the bullet keeps going and it hits Fluffy the cat, and all of a sudden you're going to jail for shooting the cat.
Yep.
Which could potentially happen. I'm not trying to find out, but you know, people are their animals nowadays.
And some of the flawed logic in that is that people, when you see this a lot in internet groups, if someone will say, you wouldn't stand in front of it, or let me see somebody stand in front of it, like, you know, a high point or whatever it is. Oh, I bet you won't stand in front of it. Okay, who would sign up for that job? Like, come on now. Obviously, nobody wants to stand in front of a firearm. That doesn't mean it's not reliable, or that it is reliable, or that it will reliably stop somebody. But people use that logic all the time. Well, you wouldn't stand in front of it. Okay, I don't want to stand in front of a slingshot. So you're really not proving anything by saying I'm not going to stand in front of a gun.
And I damn sure ain't trying to have a high point become the low point in my life. So yeah, I get it.
You ain't never lie.
Ain't getting it. So yeah, good answer. Though. I definitely agree. I mean, it makes sense too because you do have a lot of people that uh, definitely think out of emotion. They don't really, or in this case, since the topic is feelings, they definitely think out of feelings. They don't have any facts behind it. There's a lot of people I've talked to that didn't even know that there was such a thing as firearm insurance because if you discharge your weapon, you are going to go to court and you will have to state your case. A lot of people don't realize that. I think
Yeah.
even if you flash your weapon to a certain degree, you might end up going to court or at least have the police come over and say what the hell is going on, and then there might be some other ramifications, but still, it's a good point you made.
Yeah, man. Indeed. Lots to learn about this gun thing, man. That's why it's important to continue to learn, because none of us has all the answers. I surely don't.
Facts, it's true. So, do you believe that there are racist gun manufacturers?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Without question, I mean, just experience has told me that on average, there's going to be some, if not all. I don't know the number. I have no proof, but just I think I would personally, I think I would be an idiot to think that they didn't exist,
Mm,
just based on my own experiences on my 47 years on this planet,
yeah, that makes sense.
without question.
That makes sense. You got to believe it. Um, so I guess the opposite of that is why do you think we don't? Well, this was the original question, and you actually schooled me on this. But the question was, why do you think we don't have any black manufacturers of firearms? And you told me that there was one called Surplus Army, which is black owned.
Yep, absolutely. They make ARs, they make rifles. Um, but outside of that, I think, to be honest, I think some of us just don't think on that scale. So some of us, not all, obviously not all, but some of us just don't think that it's a possibility that we can own our own whatever. And it doesn't even have to be firearms. It's just we just have this consumer mindset, right?
Yeah,
So everything that we want, we feel like we have to buy from somebody else. And sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. But as far as firearms, and I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done, and that there might be some barriers that are making it, harder for people to get into that business. I'm sure, because I don't know a lot about what goes on behind the scenes legally, how to get set up. But I'm sure there's some of that as well. So I'm sure the process is not easy, especially if they find out, or you look like me. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, all right, well, let's see how many walls we can put up to maybe discourage this brother from accomplishing this goal as a company.
yeah,
So I'm sure that happens as well. But I think the biggest thing first is that we just have a consumer mindset.
this is true because it's like you always look up and you see black people open up their own range of their own firearm shop or whatever, but take it a step farther and maybe you're right. Maybe it's due to the fact that there's the paperwork there, and on top of that, there's so many barriers. But
Mm-hmm.
there was one that came out a while back, which was civilian arms, but I don't know why that one went defunct. It just kind of fell off.
Did they make pistols or rifles or a combination, or what did they make?
I think they mainly made rifles, um,
Okay.
but I think a couple of people were questioning the quality of it. Like I think there were some issues with the quality, but still, it's like what sucks is the fact that being in our society, when you want to purchase black, and this is the only option, but then if the rumors are true about civilian arms, you spend over $1,000 on an AR, and then the money that you spent isn't really being met with quality, but you have to quote unquote remain loyal to them because they're black. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't support black-owned businesses, and I actually had a conversation with Ogun Gear recently about this. Um, Buying black is one thing, but I shouldn't have to purchase something because I'm black and you're selling it to me. It should be I'm purchasing black because I trust the quality. Because if that was the case, every single thing that was black manufactured or black owned should have no issue having black customers, no matter if the quality is good or not. But just like any consumer, I want to make sure that whatever I'm purchasing is actually something that I can continue to use without any questions. That's something that would create loyalty. I would much rather have the loyalty, the true loyalty of people that look like you and I, versus people coming into my store saying, I want this because I'm black and you're black. And that's good enough for me. But maybe that's just how I'm looking at it. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm with you. For me, I love supporting black-owned businesses, but I kind of have an act like I love supporting black-owned businesses that in turn support black-owned businesses, right? So I don't want to support well, I don't want to say I don't want to, but if you support a black-owned business that doesn't believe in supporting other black-owned businesses, then that kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because they're just going to give their money to who you could have gave it to in the first place.
Right.
But like you said, I do expect quality. So I don't want to support you just because you're black and I don't get anything of value for my money. I have to make sure that whatever I'm buying, whether it's service or a product, that it's worth the dollar that I'm going to trade for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm even willing to pay a little more, but I need to make sure that I'm getting something that's of quality, that I feel as though is quality. Now, if it's something that is designed to save my life or designed to potentially save the life of people that I care about, then it really has to be quality, right? There can be no questions about whether or not this thing is going to work.
Right.
Because there's no room for it. It's not a t-shirt where it's like, oh man, I had this t-shirt, but it faded real fast on me, or the letters came off after I washed it twice. Okay, it sucks, but at the end of the day, nobody was hurt, right?
Right.
But if the gun doesn't work, that's a whole nother level.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, so it has to work. There has to be quality without question.
Definitely agree with that. So speaking of quality, why do you believe that the High Point is one of the most used gangster guns?
Honestly, I think it's just the price, man. It's just easy to get. Excuse me. You can go in there and you can buy a High Point for under $200. And then think about this: if let's say I'm a criminal and I'm going to buy a gun, and then I'm not keeping the gun, I'm going to commit a crime with the gun and then throw it away, right? And I'm not buying it from a gun shop. I'm buying it out of wherever I'm getting it, right? Whatever source I have, right? But the High Point's going to be cheaper than a CZ, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get my High Point because I'm just going to use it once and then ditch it somewhere, right?
Right.
So why would I buy $1,000 gun if I'm just going to use it once and throw it away? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, I'm just going to buy this $100 gun and then, I'm going to throw it over off the bridge or whatever, and it'll never be seen again.
Right.
So I guess there's some of that to it, I think. I'm guessing, I don't live that kind of life, so I don't know for sure. But just the logic that I would personally use would be probably, and not knowing about guns, knowing about that lower price could cost you your life because it might not end up working when you need it. But that's why I think, it's just information that people don't have about quality versus things that might not be quality. A gun is a gun to most people.
Yeah, you're right about that. You got High Points and nylon holsters.
Yeah. I did a video about nylon holsters.
Yeah, you did. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm guilty. I don't exactly have the most glamorous holsters. I ended up getting the two Blackhawk omnivores, one with a light bearing and the other one without. And
okay.
I think I ended up getting a was it a Serpa or something? But nonetheless, and this was early on once I started my my handgun journey, I realized those weren't exactly the best holsters to get. So now I'm just kind of utilizing the default holsters that mechanics ship with. So yeah.
Same thing with that though. That Canik holster is pretty much a throw-in. That's why because think about it, they can't give you a really high quality holster and keep that price point the same.
True.
You know what I mean?
I can't get mad at that. It's a simple, what is it, Kydex or plastic pancake holster, but it works well.
Yep. I would trust it for range use, but I wouldn't use it for concealed carry or anything beyond basic range time. I don't trust it because it's just a throw-in.
Well, okay, I might need to look into that because I use it for my concealed carry every day.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, brother. I'm not saying they're bad. I don't have any data that says they fail, but I'm just thinking about it from a pure number standpoint. Like, how much can that holster really be worth for them to keep their price point where it is and basically give it to you?
Sounds like I need to do some research, some more research, because I was thinking about oh god, what was it called? Not Alienware.
Yeah, don't get alien gear if that's what you're about to say.
Really?
Yeah, alien gear is trash.
Wow. What would you recommend?
I guess it depends on what you want. Stealth gear. Stealth gear is what alien gear wants to be. Um, Stealth gear is good. Right now, I'm using Tier 1 concealment. Um, there's a number of good holster manufacturers, but the alien gear is kind of like the Taurus of, you know, people like, oh, mine never failed. Yeah, you don't really use it either.
Yeah, so then what would that make Blackhawk?
Yeah, that's kind of
High point.
Yes. So it would be similar. You know, I think Blackhawk is probably better than Alien gear.
If I was gonna shoot myself in the foot, if I was ever gonna get sponsorship from Blackhawk, I'm definitely not helping out right now.
Oh, I know they're not gonna give me one as much trash as I talk about Serpa holsters. So I know they're not gonna. It just is what it is. The truth is the truth.
So I know you talk a lot about training. What do you think are some of the most important aspects of training that can help a person better utilize their firearm?
Aspects of training. I guess just the fundamentals. Learning the fundamentals and then learning how to practice. Because people often confuse training and practice. Training and practice are not the same thing. Training is when you're getting some guidance from someone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a quote unquote instructor. But if there's someone that has a high proficiency and experience, notice I said both, with firearms. Some people have a lot of experience, but they don't know anything. High proficiency and experience, and they have the ability to impart that knowledge to you. It doesn't have to be a certified instructor. It could be, you know, your uncle, your friend, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's training. When someone is teaching you something, they're taking you through a session, and there's a goal in mind to teach you a certain skill or technique or whatever it is, or help you improve on your current skill or technique or whatever it is. Practice is when you go back and try to reinforce what you learned at training so that you get that ingrained so you can do it without thinking. So most people, in my opinion, don't know how to practice. So they go to the range, but they don't know how to get better. So yes, they put holes in paper. Yes, they make guns, make loud noises, but they're not really getting better because they don't know what to work on. And then there's another part of that is that if you don't really know a lot about shooting, when you go to practice, you don't know how to evaluate what you just did to make any changes. So if you don't know anything about grip and how it can affect point of aim, point of impact, you don't know how to read your target. If you don't know anything about locking your wrist and how that can affect point of aim, point of impact, you don't know how to read your target. You don't know what healing is, you don't know how to read your target. If you don't know how your trigger press can affect, you know, point of aim, point of impact, you don't know how to read your target. Because every time you shoot a target, let's say you shoot 50 rounds, the target is telling you something. But if you don't know how to read those bullet holes, it's not going to give you any good information that you can learn from and improve. It's just, oh, today I shot this way. Oh, yesterday I shot better, but today I shot, but why? Right? And if you don't know how to read that, then you need to get someone to help you read your target so that you can improve faster.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I know in my case, I definitely need more training. And based on the way you're talking about it, it sounds, well, you already compared it to a sport. In my mind, it sounds more like a martial arts in a sense, because you do need the instruction of that teacher so you can learn the basics, learn the basic forms, learn how to fire the thing, if you will, and then go and practice. Because I didn't really have, I'm guilty of just going to the range. You know, I did have a concealed carry class, but other than that, I didn't utilize money to purchase training, which again is something that I'm definitely trying to look more into. I've been trying to network with some people at my job, as a matter of fact, that are certified firearm instructors, but I, based on my own experimenting at the range, I know for a fact that I definitely need to utilize my iron sights a little bit more proficiently. Hell, just I need to use my iron sights proficiently. Let's get rid of that a little bit more. Um, I know I have issues with locking my wrist because on my SFX and my TP9, my my other TP9, the slide wouldn't lock back. And I asked the gunsmith at the range I was going to about that, and he said it sounds like you're limp wristing. So limp wristing, okay. I thought I wasn't, but I thought something was wrong with the gun because anytime you see the slide not lock open, it seems like something's broken it. But it could be the user as well, especially with canics because canics are used to a higher grain. They're used to a higher grain count because the smaller grain count that we have here, they kind of go through lighter in the gun, but it's real easy to limp wrist with because there might be some ejection problems or so on and so forth. But that's because they're used to heavier ammo. But I just know that I've got a lot of work to do as far as utilizing handguns and later on rifles, but just getting the basics down. So I'm to blame for that, and I'm definitely trying to fix that as well.
Yeah, man, and that's most people. You also could be riding a slide stop, but that's most people. Sure, I was the same way. I shot my coffee table one day.